Hello and welcome to another habit-forming episode of We Only Look Thin. I am one of your hosts. I am Donald Weigel. I have lost about 100 pounds. I've kept it off for about 7 years, and we are here to talk about it. And the we, with me as always, is...
your wife, Catherine Weigel. Hello, I'm Catherine Weigel. I am also one of your hosts. I am a Tiny Habit certified coach and Thrive Global certified coach. Mm-hmm. I've lost over 100 pounds, and I guess I've also kept it off for over 7 years, which is hard to believe. And I am forming habits right now. What did you say? You said it very menacingly.
I said, warning, this podcast may be habit forming.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's, you know.
It was I was intense. I didn't even know. I was like, oh no, what is this episode going to be about?
Yeah, like when they say, you take this pain reliever, it may be habit forming.
Yes.
But in this case, it's a good thing.
It's a good thing. And just letting you all know, just so that you know, we are recording this before the American USA election. So we don't know what has happened yet. It is the middle of November. We're chipper. All is well. We have actually, as we are recording this, it is the day before we're falling back into the fall. And I created a new habit that really frustrated Donald yesterday. Which was,
you did?
I decided last night, I decided that I would ease in to the fallback situation, because it's fallback.
Okay, yeah. Now I know what you're talking about.
By deciding without telling Donald that I was going to set the clocks back.
Yeah, she set the clocks back almost a day and a half before we actually were supposed to.
Like a half hour early. And Donald was like, what is happening? And I was like, well, I don't know, I'm just trying it out. But like half of our clocks are interweb based, so they're tied to outer space, I guess. And so they had the later time, but I had on all the other clocks the earlier time. And Don's like, I'm eating dinner. I don't care what half hour time you say it is.
Yeah.
And then I turned them back a whole hour. So anyway, I make things very complicated.
I know. You're also revealing all of our secrets because we did our daylight saving time episode last week.
That's fine.
And now you're telling people that this episode was recorded before daylight saving time ended.
What if we just let them behind the curtain? I don't know if it's what kind of fabric it is, if it's an iron curtain or a velvet curtain.
Yeah.
I don't know what other kind of curtains there are.
I like to think of it as some sort of delightful silk.
A silk, okay. I was thinking of like a chocolate fountain curtain.
I couldn't think of another type of fabric. Felt.
That's fine.
It's a felt curtain.
Okay, but you I know like 4 kinds of trees. And I feel like I get excited every single time I tell you about a kind of tree. And you are just like, I have no idea what kinds of trees things are. And like, I feel very, not superior, but like, I'm happy that I can bring you delight by being like, that's a crepe myrtle. Like, you know what I mean? Like how exciting that is.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can only imagine how thrilling it is to know something that I don't.
It doesn't happen all that often.
It's funny though. Like I love trees. I love looking at trees. I have absolutely zero interest in knowing what their names are. Like it's the same thing with flowers and general foliage. Like I have no interest in learning the names of any of it. I don't know why. I'm like happy to look at it, but I don't need to know what it's called.
Well, but I think there are a couple of things. One, you don't have to know its name. Like, you're not going to be in a conversation with it and be like, oh,
right,
whatever, elm tree, hi.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter. And you have...
hey, you.
You elm tree.
Yeah.
But I think it leaves you open, because your brain can only hold so many things. It leaves you open to learn other things, like different ways of forming habits.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I see.
Like,
that was a very professional transition into our topic for today.
Transitioning into fall.
Yeah.
Just like I'm great at transitioning into falling back by a half hour.
Yeah.
But you get an extra half hour of time by just listening to this episode, because I'm waiting to actually talk about anything, which is very, very good for everybody. He's giving me a look right now. You know what?
I'm giving you a loving, adoring look.
We've been doing this podcast for 6 years. We get to ramp up as long as we want
to. Almost 7
Fast
years.
Forward, everybody, if you don't like it.
As long as we want to, or as long as you want to.
I'm done. We can get into the.
Oh, I'm just kidding.
We can get into the...
let's ramp. I'm ready to ramp.
No, we're elevated. It's happening.
So last week we thought about, as we're heading into the Thanksgiving season, we thought about the things we're most thankful for and decided those things were Gretchen Rubin and forming habits.
Oh, very grateful.
And so Gretchen Rubin has a list of 21 strategies for habit formation. And we only gave you the first 4 last week because the first one was kind of a deep dive, very complicated, so to speak, habit formation strategy. And so this week we're going to give you 9 out of the 21. Why are you laughing?
Because you're just like, it was long, and I'm like, I have no idea even what it was. So I was just going into my mind.
It was the 4 tendencies.
Was
the first one.
Okay,
and
so go back to that episode.
That one took a long time. So you can go back and listen to that one. So in her book, Better Than Before, she researched habit formation. And we're going to go over her list, and of course, we're going to do the thing we do. We're going to make it about forming health and fitness habits, about losing weight and getting yourself healthy, getting yourself where you want to be. And that is the thing we do.
That is the thing we do. And so we are going to start this week. I'm going to start out with the most important thing. I don't know if it's important, but it sounded great to start that way. So the first one that we're going to talk about today is scheduling. Scheduling.
Oh, apparently
I've been listening to a lot of British
broadcast. I know you have. You're like talking about washing up liquid.
I actually said zebra the other day.
Zebra.
It was very annoying.
Right.
Very annoying because all the zebras in London.
Yeah.
Okay. So
from A to Z.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first one is scheduling. So Gretchen Rubin says, for many people, if it's on the calendar, it happens. Habits grow strongest and fastest when they're repeated in predictable ways. And for most of us, putting an activity on the schedule tends to lock us into doing it. Scheduling an activity also protects time from interference. So we schedule things. Like if it is on the calendar, it is much more likely to happen.
Yeah.
So that's for people. And again, this is just a selection of options that you have. It might not work for everyone, but it might work for some. So schedule a class, schedule a trainer, schedule a time with a friend to go for a walk every Saturday. Make it predictable, make it steady. And if it's on the calendar, it just might actually happen.
Yeah. And like another form of this quickly for me is that we usually either, depending on what time of year it is, we either go for a walk in the morning. We get up early enough to go for a walk in the morning, or we get on rebounders or step pad, a little treadmill that we have. Anyway, the point here is that it's not something that we think about. We just it's on the schedule. Like we get up at a certain time, and then I get on my rebounder at a certain time. Like I have it just locked in my head, and it's not negotiable. I don't think about it. I just it's on the schedule and I do it. Even if it's not literally on my calendar, it's just on the schedule for my day.
Yeah. It's not like, oh, what do we feel like doing? It's just, we just do it. We're like a Nike commercial. All right, Donald, what is the next one?
The next one is accountability, which I want none of. No, many people do better when they know someone's watching. So Gretchen Rubin says, for obligers, which we talked about in the last episode, people who do better when they're trying to make someone else happy, or trying to fulfill an obligation that someone else has given them, they most of all thrive under external accountability, and it is absolutely essential. And this is, if you keep everything to yourself, then then it's really much easier to sort of not follow through on the things that you're doing. But if you are accountable to somebody else, then you run the risk of letting someone else down if you don't do the thing that you said you were going to do.
Yeah. So being vocal about what you want to do can help you stay. Like Donald said, if you keep it secret and you're like, I'm going to work out every day, but no one is going to know. And then you don't do it. It's like, well, no one knows. So who cares? But that's why, again, taking a class, getting a walking buddy, going grocery shopping, or going to the farmer's market with a friend to get healthy veg. That's some accountability. You're showing up for yourself because someone else is also expecting you to show up for them.
And the downside of this one that you have to be careful on is making big, huge proclamations like, this is the year I'm going to do it. And you announce it on all your social media and you tell all your family and friends. And then if you don't follow through, it can be very embarrassing. So it's better to keep it in, smaller one-on-one and not try to make big sweeping proclamations about accountability.
Well, and again, accountability isn't a proclamation. It is a showing up consistently in your habits kind of thing. So it's not just an announcement. It's a, hey, I'm checking in. Here's what I plan on doing.
No, absolutely. But I know there's a friend of ours who years ago announced to the world that he was this was the year that he was going to lose a whole bunch of weight. And he announced it everywhere, and he told everybody, if you see me slacking off, I want you to be mean to me. I want you to yell at me. And that's the kind of thing I'm saying don't do.
Exactly. No, I think that is a great point. Okay. So speaking of things that don't go well, the next one we're going to talk about is safeguards. Planning to fail. What? Everything's going to go right. I'm going to put it on my calendar. I'm going to get an accountability buddy. Everything is going to be fine. But when we only look at 100% success and sticking to everything, we forget or we get discouraged when things don't go our way. So try to anticipate and minimize temptation, both in your environment and in your own mind. Use if-then planning to prepare for challenges that might arise. So if it's raining, then I will exercise by following an online cardio video. That is all what Gretchen Rubin says, but I'll give you some more examples. So again, sort of that, if this doesn't go the way I want it to, what good luck? I've got a backup plan. So if it rains, I'll do a Walking with Leslie video on YouTube. If I forget my lunch, I'll order soup from Panera.
Yeah.
If I miss my workout, then I will do a couple of minutes stretching in the evening. If someone gifts me cookies, I'll gift them in my Buy Nothing group. So it's always that backup thing of, or, if I forget my meal, I've got a good luck meal in the freezer that is ready and waiting for me. It's taking that negative instead of seeing it as oh my gosh, nothing ever goes my way. Oh, I never accounted for getting sick. Oh, now my plan is ruined. Part of the plan should be the backup plan.
Yeah.
We don't drive with if you were just oh, well, I have so much more room in my trunk because I don't have a spare tire. Why don't you have a spare tire? Well, because you're just that's negative, man. You're just manifesting terrible energy. You're not manifesting terrible energy. You're planning for setbacks. So plan for that setback. Get that tire in your motivational trunk.
Yeah, and we've done lots of episodes, sort of deep dives about the importance of having plans and backup plans and backup plans to the backup plans, because when you fail to plan, then you don't have a plan.
You don't have a plan. Yeah. All right, Donald, what's next?
The next one is clean slate. And personally, this one has not worked well for me, but perhaps it will work well for you. So the idea here is that when you go through a big transition, old habits get wiped away with a clean slate and new habits form more easily. So this can be, you move to a new place, you have a new job, you're going through a relationship change, something like that. Many people also use the calendar, and we talk a lot about the dangers of using the calendar for this, but, New Year's Day, a birthday, an important milestone, people use that as a clean slate for habit formation. The idea here being that when you remember that the temporary can become the permanent, and it's a good way to get started. But, we always say, don't wait for that milestone. Start now. Do what you can do right now. However, for a lot of people, it is important to have that sort of clean slate moment before they can begin something that is a new habit.
Well, and I know too, think about, your life coming up. Are you starting a new job? Donald Weigel Jr., you are moving into a new office.
I am moving into an office, yeah.
Which gives you the opportunity for a clean slate of like, oh, how can I switch up my walking routine at lunchtime? Like, what food options are there in the neighborhood?
Yeah.
How can you kind of look at things differently? So again, things like the time change, new month, even, and this is kind of a big one, if you really are ruminating on, oh my gosh, I used to be so healthy. I'm looking at my old, Fitbit tracker and all my calorie data and my weight data, and it's bumming me out. You have the opportunity to do a clean slate, start fresh, like start over on your Lose It app or your Fitbit app. Just start fresh. Don't hold on to the past. Look forward. Clean slate. It can work for some.
Yeah, and I just want to. I love the positive looking forward spin you just put on it. The flip side, the negative is that if you're always looking for the clean slate or waiting for the clean slate, then it is much harder to ever actually get started. It's sort of that like, well, I'll start Monday. I'll start next week. I'll start as soon as I get through this project. I'll start as soon as I get through this big. And it really is important just to start now and do the thing that you can do right now and not always wait for that clean slate. But if the clean slate presents itself, then you can take advantage of that.
Exactly. That new planner feeling.
That's right.
No mistakes.
That new planner feeling.
No mistakes. All right. So the next one is that lightning bolt moment. We have done an episode on lightning bolt moments. I think it was called Thunderstruck back in the day, which thunder and lightning aren't the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, remember thunder?
We did. Yeah. Wow. It's so funny. Like, it's like, I don't even remember.
I know when people say, someone the other day was like, oh, your tip of the week, back on episode 38 was use a rebounder. And I was like, that was 5 years ago. Oh my goodness. So, okay. So a lightning bolt moment. Once in a while, we encounter some new idea, new information, or a new role, and suddenly and seemingly effortlessly, a new habit replaces a well-established habit. So this one in particular, it can't, like, you can't manifest a lightning bolt unless you're like Zeus the god, which, hello, you're not. I don't know. Zeus the god, right? Like, he was a god, right?
Yes. If Zeus the god is listening to this podcast,
every moment is a lightning bolt moment with Zeus the god.
Yes, exactly. But
instead of like Zeus the accountant, or like
there could be Zeus the accountant.
You don't see many Zeuses these days.
No, you don't. You don't see a lot of Hercules or
no. So
probably a lot of Percys though, because of Percy Jackson.
That's true. So the lightning bolt moment can happen with a diagnosis. Suddenly you get that shock to the system of, I need to take my health seriously. Another one is a pregnancy or a job loss or some sort of big moment where you realize you've got to turn your life around. And these lightning bolt moments, I think a lot of times we wait for them before we do anything. It's sort of that like, well, a lightning bolt will give me the motivation to take my health seriously.
Right.
And we think that like, well, I haven't hit that like crisis mode yet. So like, I guess it's not that bad. And this is definitely what I went through when I was at my heaviest. It was like, well, my blood work is good. Like, it's not really a big deal. Like, I think I'm okay.
Exactly.
And so we wait like, oh, well, if I get that lightning bolt moment, I'll feel really serious about my goals. The thing with a lightning bolt is that they feel urgent in the moment. And then like a couple of weeks later, it's just like, okay, well, so I've got diabetes. Like, it's not that bad. It's fine. But so we can't rely on lightning bolts. They might happen. You watch a documentary, you hear a speech, suddenly you get really into something. But that doesn't necessarily say you have a plan for success. So watch out for the lightning bolts. They can happen, but they're not reliable.
Yeah. The other thing people say all the time is, I'm just not motivated. And like, we've done lots of episodes about how, it is sort of futile to wait for motivation. Take advantage of it when it comes along. But if you're going to just wait for motivation, then you're likely that things aren't going to happen.
Yep.
Okay. So the next one is abstaining from things. So when you're facing temptation, abstainers do better when they abstain altogether. So if there's a particular food or a particular situation, if you avoid it altogether, some people do much better. While now there are other people who are moderators, and those people do better when they indulge in temptations sometimes or a little. And I used to think that I was an abstainer, but I have found that I do much better as a moderator. When I tend to abstain altogether from things, I tend to then want to binge them at some point in time. Whereas if I have little treats and I work them into my plan, then I'm more likely to not go off. But there are definitely people, and there are definitely certain items, if you avoid them altogether, it is better for the plan, because some people, once they have a little bit of something, then they can't help themselves and need to have a lot of something.
So I think knowing yourself and knowing what works for the time that you're in matters. Right now, I am on month 2 of abstaining from alcohol. And for me, it was sort of it was a break. It's a pause in my habit to kind of reflect on how I can make it into something that I can moderate more effectively. So abstaining, I think a lot of times too, that abstaining, people think of it as this absolute, I'm never going to do X again.
Right.
And then that is just sort of, then you set this expectation, and then, well, how do I work it out? Because I've already told people I'm never going to do it again. So taking a break might be a way to approach it. And then for me, I'm actually considering, and this is something that someone in the group decided that she was going to do with alcohol. The group is Wolt Place. We only look Thin Place. It was the group. Oh, the Black Skull Society.
I want to know what the group is. Yeah, exactly.
So someone in the group said that she will no longer drink at home, but she will drink when she is out with friends.
Oh,
and the reason
that's pretty good.
She is doing that is because it is expensive to go out and drink with friends. So she's much more likely to have 1 or 2 drinks out in public than being at home with well, it's so inexpensive, I'll just drink a whole whatever. So for me, that was actually sort of a way for me to consider a hybrid of abstaining at home and then moderating in public. So we're going deep on this one, but I like that idea of circumstantial abstination. No, that's not a word.
Abstinence.
Abstinence in circumstances. So I abstain at home, but I'll have it in public. That's a way to sort of make something fit into your plan. We've done whole episodes on abstaining versus moderating, but it is something that I am looking at right now. And so far, so good. So.
Abstination.
Oh, no.
Asian. Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is convenience. In Tiny Habits, which I'm a certified coach, America, hello. Part of the idea of a tiny habit is making it easy and convenient and right in your face, easy to do something that you say that you want to do. A lot of times we think we've got to do this big, giant, crazy, insane goal. If we make it big, then we're really motivated to do it. When we make it big and complicated, it might work for a little while, but then as actual life gets in the way, it gets harder to do it. And then we think we're failures. When in fact, we're more likely to do something if it's convenient and less likely if it's not. So the amount of effort, time, or decision-making required by an action has a huge influence on our habits. Make it easy to do the right thing and harder to do the wrong thing. So again, convenience is about routine. It is, if I make like the same breakfast every day, it's easy, it's convenient. If something is right in front of you, it's convenient. That's why we've got like literally rebounders, our weights, my yoga mat, running shoes. Like it is all conveniently placed. Like, is it attractive in our place where we would have guests over? Maybe not, but it is convenient in our day-to-day lives to do it because it's right in front of us. If we had our rebounders in the garage, up above the cars, like we got to dust it off every time, that is not convenient. It's not convenient to rebound in your garage.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that this is a little bit controversial because it costs a little more money. But for me, one of the biggest obstacles to eating fruits and vegetables is the time it takes to prep them. So I tend to buy these sort of fruits and vegetables that are already pre-cleaned, pre-chopped, and just basically ready to eat right out of the container, or things like blackberries, raspberries, that all I have to do is sort of rinse it. I don't have to do a lot of big prep to it. Like I love pineapple, but if I had to buy a whole pineapple and spend the time chopping it up, very likely that pineapple would just sit until it was rotten. So I buy the pre-chopped kind and I eat it all the time. And therefore I eat a lot more fruit than I would otherwise.
No, that is a great point. I like the idea of like people, again, think that it's motivation, but the easier we make something to do and work in our best interest, the better we are. We did an episode called The Convenience of Convenience.
We sure did.
I think we're, make it easy for yourself. Why make it challenging? Also, the opposite of that, the antonym, there we go. I used a word.
Yeah.
What is the antonym of convenience?
Inconvenience. I was going to say unconvenience. I really was going to say inconvenience. But so the next strategy is inconvenience, and that is to make an action more inconvenient if you want to sort of stop doing a habit or curb a habit. It's harder to indulge in a quote-unquote bad habit, the harder it is to do impulsively. So make it as inconvenient as possible. So an example of this might be, don't bring the treats home with you. Make it harder for you to eat certain things by not bringing them home, or keep them in a sealed container that's at the back of your pantry or the back of your refrigerator, so that you really have to be mindful about going to get it. Don't bring home the giant warehouse-sized bag of something that makes it easy to eat the whole thing. Get smaller individual single serving sizes so that it is, less convenient to eat a whole giant amount of it.
Exactly. Well, and we've talked about it before that oh gosh, I didn't know the bakery was right next to the post office. What a surprise.
Right.
Making it inconvenient means oh, you know what? I'm just not even going to go into the realm of temptation. I'm going to take it to the different post office, or I'm going to drive a different way home so that I am not driving right past the fast food restaurant. We often set ourselves up for that. I'm so surprised that it's a day and again, why?
That's right.
Gosh. So the less we
There's a giant bag of candy here? How did that get here?
Was it on Andy Griffith, the Golly?
Yeah, that was Jim Nabors on that.
Stop acting surprised when things are right in front of you and you're oh, but how do I stop it? The chips are right in my hand.
How did they get there?
So make it less convenient to do the things you don't want to do.
All right. So bring us home. What is the last one for this episode?
Okay. Ironically, the last one is first steps. So what? Last is first. So I think we talked about this recently, about how we make a problem so big or make a plan so big that we need the perfect time and the perfect circumstances and all of the ingredients and all of everything in place before we do even one thing.
Yeah.
If we wait for that perfect time of year, the perfect habit, once this one thing is done, then I'll definitely start. When we keep sort of moving it as a mirage in the future, we just keep avoiding getting started. And sometimes, actually, all the time, just starting taking that first step, taking that first walk, taking that first, like bite of the apple, just getting started is better than waiting for well, it doesn't really count if I just go on a short walk. I've got to do a 30-minute walk.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't count if I do a 10-second plank. I've got to, join the HIIT class at the gym to really make it worth it. When we start small and feel that success of oh my gosh, I did the thing I said I was going to do. Last night I did 5 minutes of yoga. I was just wearing my dungarees and a t-shirt. I wasn't even in yoga wear.
Yeah.
I had dungarees. Sorry, that was from the 1980s.
What is 70s? A dungaree exactly?
A dungaree is jeans.
Oh, it's jeans?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I thought it was a euphemism for underwear. And you were
those are underoos.
You definitely were not wearing your underwear when you did it. Well, I mean, I think you were wearing underwear, but.
All right. Okay. Dungarees or jeans, everybody. That's what we need to know about this episode.
Okay.
But taking that first step, you have heard many different examples of ways that habits are formed or unformed, overformed, informed in this episode. Just picking one and getting started. Start with that clean slate. Go on that short walk. Make one thing less convenient to do.
Yeah.
Make one thing easier to do. We don't have to wait for the perfect giant plan, the complicated instructions, the perfect time to meal prep. Just get started today with something that you can do. I know for me, when I stop, and this is maybe where we're going to end up for the day, is when you notice the next time you think oh, but I can't because I've got to wait for blah to happen. Blah is, a general term. But when you find yourself putting something off for that perfect moment, ask yourself instead, what can I do right now? What can I do in the moment to make a change? So whether that is taking the longer route into the office, whether that's getting that convenience food, the convenient vegetable pre-chopped thing at the grocery store, or doing a short walk, or doing a couple of squats, what can you do right now to move you towards your goal? Because it is much better to just get started and make small progress every day than to wait until 2025 and go okay, I'm just going to wait till then all of the complexities of life will be behind me.
Yeah.
It'll be smooth sailing. Guess what, everybody? The hits just keep coming. So start today with what you have, with the resources that you have. If we can do it, we know that you can do it too.
Yes, indeed. Get started. Figure out what you can get yourself to do right now and do that thing. No matter how small, it is a step in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of steps in the right direction, thank you so much for listening to this episode of We Only Look Thin. We have a lot of other episodes available. And the most recent 300 are all available on all of the major podcast platforms, wherever you found this episode. Or you can listen to every single one back to the beginning if you go to YouTube or you go to our website at weonlylookthin.com.
Yep. And if you are at weonlylookthin.com, click on that link for join our support group to find out more about Wolt Place. We Only Look Thin Place is our Facebook-based accountability group for women. We're not a weight loss plan. Come on over with whatever plan you're doing, and but stay for the accountability, the fellowship, the insights, conversation. It is just such a wonderful group. Everyone is super supportive, and we have 2 subscription options, a monthly subscription with a 3-day complimentary trial and a 3-month subscription with a 7-day complimentary trial to see if Wolt Place is right for you. I do weekly Zoom meetings. We have subgroups that focus on weighing in, activity, meal prep and food ideas. I am super proud of the group. And again, if you're going to take a first step, just join, just join us, see how you like it. Throw a little bit of energy into making a change for yourself. We have so many returning members also.
Yeah.
Maybe taken a break who are coming back, and it feels really good. It's hard to see people leave, but it's so rewarding to see people return and say that they really miss the accountability and just the connections that they make. So again, check us out. This is a great time, a great first step toward your next phase of your journey venture. So yeah, check us out.
Absolutely. And if you're one of those people people that thinks you might do better with some external accountability, Walt Place is a great place for you. Also, you can check us out on social media. We are on Instagram and Facebook at We Only Look Thin. Or if you prefer to engage in some correspondence, you can send us an email. We would enjoy episode suggestions. If you have a question, if there's a habit strategy that really resonates with you, if there's something that we've left out, we would like to hear from you. And you can do all of those things by emailing us to weonlylookthin@gmail.com.
Yep. And if you have a couple of extra minutes, head over to Apple Podcast and leave us a rating and a review. Not only does it let us know that what we're doing after all these years is still making a difference in new listeners' lives, but it also helps others find our podcast as well. I'm going to read. I know this is off. I'm going off road. I'm going outside the lines.
I was not expecting this.
I'm going to read a review. A recent one from Jen R47. 5 stars. Thank you.
You're Jen welcome. R47.
You're welcome for creating such a great podcast. She says, I'm approaching 100 pounds lost. Holy smoke-a-doodles.
Wow.
Way to go, inspiration.
Yeah.
And the practical advice and mindset tools presented in this podcast have been invaluable to my success to date. My favorite episode so far is episode 351. I do my own stunts.
Wow.
Thanks for sharing your knowledge.
Very recent one.
So congratulations, Jen. Seriously, that you have lost all of that is inspiring to us, inspiring to others. So thank you for taking the time. We are grateful for you, and congrats.
Yeah, and leaving us 5 stars is one of the best ways that you can support the show, and it costs you no money to do so, just a tiny bit of your time. Another thing you can do if you'd like to help support the show is just tell somebody about us. If you know somebody that you think would enjoy this show or get something out of it, and you tell them about it, it really helps the show grow. Or if you are in an online group, if you are on a Facebook group, a subreddit, a Discord server, and it makes sense to give us a shout out, we really would appreciate it. It helps the show grow.
It sure does. So if you're not sure if you're going to use the word inconvenience or scheduling in your next business meeting.
Inconvenient scheduling.
Just remember that Donald and I and Jen are an inspiration.
The information that you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The hosts are not medical professionals. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.